Gathering your own perspective of how life works for you is really key. And so, in this episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual, Tom and I have a subject we really want to talk about, and it's the word around confusion. Now,
Mm.
this may seem like what? They're going to talk about confusion. But what I really want to emphasize is we want to talk a bit about accessing freedom in your life or accessing a confused intellectual way of life. So
Well
let's,
said, Teresa.
oh, and I'm telling you guys, this, when Tom and I prepare for these episodes, we do our, connecting with spirit. We tune into what's been going on out in the world. Cause lately I've seen a lot on social media about confusion.
Hmm.
And then we gather our thoughts and then we sit down, and I'll tell you what, this episode has taken us a while to cultivate because this is a really big topic. So buckle your seats, buckle your seatbelts wherever you're at, relax, and get ready to get some clarity on having inner freedom and moving away from confusion.
Sounds good.
Ready to go, Tom?
Here on
It,
Enthusiastically Spiritual.
is your seatbelt buckled?
It's buckled.
So I really wanted to start first with just a definition of what confusion is.
Okay.
Okay. So confusion on my little iPhone says the number one is lack of understanding or uncertainty, or the state of being bewildered or unclear in one's mind about something.
Hmm.
So that second one is the one that really I want to really emphasize because Tom and I have done a lot of work in the last few years. Well, Tom's done it in decades with the Way Shores College and getting a bigger understanding of what is confusion. So I would love for Tom, if you wouldn't mind, Tom, to share what is your definition of confusion?
Well, a lot of what I've put together is through a program called Astro Soul, which means universal soul. And confusion to me is uh, I am not clear, about what's going on. And my intellect, can have a concept about things. And for example, one of the concepts that floats around a lot these days is, this is the only way, that dogmatic idea, or being really judgmental, about other souls' circumstances or their situations or where they're at spiritually. And in terms of spiritual growth, it really doesn't, work the same way as we sometimes think. We all have equal opportunity to grow spiritually, and it takes a step at a time. By the inch, it's a cinch, and so that requires that I'm patient with myself. And when I'm patient with myself, I'm patient with others. That I have some compassion for myself, and then I'm compassionate towards others and kind. And when I move from that perspective, from my true feelings, feel that way. They feel patient, kind, loving is another word that people use, So whenever I get impatient, or my cage gets rattled, it's usually because I have a concept that's not fitting my true feelings. And so to me, probably a spiritual definition or another way of looking at confusion is I have a concept about things that doesn't match the true feelings I have in terms of my unlimited freedom as a soul. What do you think about that?
Dun, dun, dun. That was damn big, Tom.
Just what came to me, folks.
That was really big. That was back to that channeling stuff, huh?
Yeah.
From spirit. Well, yes. So when I think of confusion and I think of how confusion affects a lot of people, it affects them through, like you're saying, having concepts, but it affects their mind. It affects the way they think. So I know for myself, when I may have a confused energy move into me, to my essence, I don't think right. I think I'm not in my true feelings. I'm really more in my head. So understanding for myself that, I really have to do my work. I have to do my inner work, and I have to understand and heal some areas around having triggers or having concepts that affect me still, because then I won't draw in that energy. Am I saying that right?
Well, that's one way to put things.
Hmm.
There's all sorts of psychological language these days. But for me, I know that I'm confused when I'm, like I say, my cage has been rattled and I begin to react a lot emotionally. Or I begin to have those conversations in my head like, well, they should have done this and I could have done that. And well, they have to learn this, and as a soul, like attracts like. So whether you're in a physical body or you're not in a physical body, you can attract confusion. So let's say that I'm having a really down day and I'm feeling very sorry for myself. I'm very impatient with myself. I can attract souls that have already passed on that are still thinking about things here on planet Earth who are really very impatient with themselves or really dogmatic about what they were trying to accomplish. And it's a normal thing. It's the easy way you can change it is just by changing your concepts or getting back into your true feelings. And we also work with healing techniques, that spiritual cleansing technique that we talk about all the time. So, uh, I guess a real sign that I'm confused is that I'm not sure. I feel like bewildered. I'm not sure what direction I want to go in. So, if I'm trying to be too perfect at something, or I think this is the only way, then, there's a lot of variations of that. One thing we see this a lot in politics lately, and I suppose this is one of the reasons that I know you wanted to talk about this is that, we're in this place where people are kind of more aware of their confusion than ever before. From even a couple of 100 years ago, 150 years ago, people were more concerned about survival. And today we have a lot, provided to us. So, but one of the clear indications of confusion for me is when something becomes an end in itself rather than a means to an end. Because spiritually, the way spirit looks at these things and the way we grow spiritually as souls is every opportunity is a means to an end.
Hmm.
But when I make something an end in itself, that's when I can make the job the end in itself. I become a slave master, and I really don't respect when I'm in that mode. We've all been there once or twice, and that we lose that respect for ourselves and for other people because one, we put ourselves under pressure, and two, we put the people around us under pressure. So another solution is to have clear boundaries, know what I need to be involved with, when I need to be involved with it, where I need to be involved, and why I need to be involved. And, the why for me is opportunity is there for my spiritual lessons, my spiritual growth. And sometimes through those experiences we have with all the different wavelengths of consciousness or wavelengths of energy here on planet Earth, it's we can get confused. And I think you had one of the recent questions come in from a listener about whether your energy can be tainted
Or
and
influenced by
or
others.
yeah, influenced by
Well,
others.
I can take that one on
Okay,
board
why don't you take that one on board?
because this happens to me quite often, especially with those close to me, and especially when people like, I'll just say my mom, I might go over there and something, just something she might say, or an action or an energy that might be around her, or it might influence me because I have something like like we're all mirrors, right? And so I can become tainted, and so and come home with that, with like a lot downer than I was when I went over there. And then immediately, because Tom and I are very in tune with one another, he's like, what's going on here, Teresa? And we usually, talk about things and work through stuff. And I can many times move through that energy and get back to my true feelings and who I really am. That, usually grounded, more inner enthusiastic kind of person, versus coming home and feeling heaviness and feeling a weight on my shoulders, and taking on, by being, what we said, tainted or affected by other people's energies that might be around them. And so, and you know, this can happen anywhere. This can happen, honestly, tell you, it can happen to me when I go to the store, when I not just going to see, you know, loved ones, but it can happen anywhere. So it's just being aware of when something moves in energetically, like Tom's talking about boundaries, can be really, it can be for myself a lifesaver in the sense of being able to walk around and discern what I'm feeling and what I'm picking up on or what I brought home with me. So that's something too, is like, what did I bring home with me? And I would love to share where, you know, this, the confused energy we're talking about, like Tom had mentioned, it could be people that have passed on, souls that are still on the planet. And
Well, off the planet, but thinking that they're on the planet.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. Well, so they're no longer in physical bodies.
correct.
They're back in their essence, but they're still, we'll say, bound to the earth because
Right.
of the way they're thinking or the way they were thinking when they passed on or things like that. So,
What the Master Jesus referred to as unclean souls.
right, unclean souls. So those kind of influences in the aspect of confusion,
Earthbound souls as well.
right.
Earthbound.
Hmm. Those confused energies can also be, you know, they can obviously affect us. That's what we're talking about. Hello. So another example I want to share with you is that years ago I went into a clinic to have a mammogram. So it was a clinic that specialized in obviously women's things, cancer, etc. So when I went into this clinic, now of course I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm an empathic person, as you all probably know by listening to a lot of our podcasts and what I share about. So when I entered this facility, and this was back in the days when I was not, I didn't cleanse, so I didn't know how to, I didn't have a technique, or I was really unaware of energy to a certain degree. I mean, I was actually, it was when I was a massage therapist, so I was somewhat aware, but not fully like I am today. But what happened to me is I went into this clinic, I sat down into a chair, and I felt a zzz, I felt like an energy. And I'm like, huh. And I didn't think anything of it. Went through, had my procedure, came home, and my at that time my daughters were very psychic and aware and could see a lot of things. So my one daughter said to me, "Mom, you brought a lady home with you that died of cancer." I'm like,
Hmm.
"What?" I mean, I was like, "Okay." And so I worked with that, and this soul went on. But I'm just sharing this because this soul might have been confused, and I somehow attracted it either through something I might have been thinking at that moment when I went into that clinic, like, oh my God, you know, if I'm here, I mean, like, do I have
Hmm.
something going on with me? Am I,
Hmm.
you know, am I, you know, because when we go and get mammograms, we sometimes think the worst, right? Like, oh Jesus, or there are people
Hmm.
in the air there thinking the worst because they have cancer or they have something going on. They found a lump in their breast. And so anything like that I was perhaps thinking about that moment drew that soul to me, and I brought it home. And so that's just a one example of, I, you know, many times this has happened to me, but that was a real prevalent one because of the fact that I felt it. One thing, I was aware of the feeling that there was like a zzz, like an energy. And then my very aware child said to me, "Mom, there's a person in the kitchen." And I'm like, "Okay." And so, in looking back at situations, which a lot of times that's how things are for us, we look back at how things lined up or what happened and go, "Wow, that's what occurred." So that to me was a time when I picked up a confused energy and brought it home with me. What's your thought about that, Tom? That was kind of a that was an
Well, it's
interesting
normal.
situation.
It's
It's normal. It
normal.
really
And,
is.
there's folks that, feel a lot of pressure at times and almost lose themselves, because they're so sensitive and they'll pick up those energies, and a lot of times when souls pass on, they're still aware. So they think they're still in physical bodies and they've, you might say they brought their intellect with them to the other side. And it's, you can't use your intellect. You really just work from your feelings. It's like trying to bring a TV set into the jungle. Uh, I think that life is one of these situations where we constantly learn, become aware of what concepts that we have that limit us. And when you have a concept that you just seem to have a hard time kicking, or a fear that tends to move in, you may have some help with that. So not only can you attract souls without physical bodies because they're energy, and there's a joke, where do dead people go? Well, wherever they want to. And but they don't have a physical body to anchor them here anymore. We have physical bodies to anchor us here to planet Earth so we can learn and grow in our awareness. We have a desire to become more aware and evolve. And all those souls that made it here had that same desire, but they get confused. So again, there's no bad souls. They're just confused. And, that soul just forgot the bigger picture. They've been they're trying to, and probably concerned about leaving something behind or some unfinished business. So in other words, they were making the mission or the job an end in itself. So, when I do things like that, or I get impatient with myself, I'm going to attract that kind of energy. And not only souls that don't have physical bodies, as I was saying, but also souls with physical bodies. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite examples is, you ever notice that, if you're at work and everybody likes to gossip around the coffee machine, or those who like to bitch and gossip about what's going on, or, try to outthink the soap opera of the job, they tend to attract each other. They tend to be the ones that always attract each other and find time to have those conversations. And if you're more focused on, what am I getting out of this opportunity and how can I be of service, a person has less time for that. So, like attracts like. Energy is energy. We're all souls, we're all energy, and we're here to learn and grow. We have a physical body temporarily. And, when time to go back to the universe to get regrouped, and, planet Earth's like a big school, and it's like an advanced school in our galaxy system, because you can come here innumerable times. And, I've read and I've heard and I've felt that the other planets are available, but you may only be able to do 1 or 2 lifetimes there because the lessons are different. So we're here on purpose. We're here to learn and grow. We're here to grow in awareness and to evolve because it's a blast. I mean, and so whenever I'm off that, whenever I'm caught in the game of life, instead of just realizing it is a game, and then, I can get confused. So what do you think about that, Teresa?
Well, I agree with you. And I also feel that, yes, that question earlier you had about, can we be tainted or influenced by other people's energy, or like we're talking about with other souls that have passed on? Absolutely. So what was coming to me also while you're talking is, why is confusion right now it's very prevalent. And in my understanding, and what I was picking up from spirit while I was, listening to you talk, is that it's because right now we're in a special place energetically where there's more awareness, and through awareness becomes more clarity. And so there's more awareness with the fact that, yes, there's a lot of souls that are still attached to the earth, that are still here, and that are affecting many people at this time.
Yeah, and they're not really here. They're just thinking about things here. And now that was really interesting, because as we're sharing, you ask yourself a question or you call your guidance close as you're listening, and you get insight into, what's the way you need to understand it, what's more relevant for you. So we're here to learn and grow by sharing with each other, by all these
Absolutely.
different levels of consciousness, I often say. And, one day I was checking with my guidance. You could check it with your guidance or get some insight or meditate on it. How many levels of consciousness are here? Well, like the number I always get are it's like 1,000. I mean, it's no wonder.
Lots.
It's lots, and I don't want to pin a number down, really. I agree with you. I think there's a greater awareness because we're on the verge of clarifying at least a wave of us, or souls that are here on the verge of really clarifying and uplifting, their involvement. And it's not really a big deal. It's all part of the rhythms and routines of the universe. So what do you feel about that?
Well, I feel that I want to go back to what you said a minute ago about
Mm-hmm.
putting what we're putting together. So yeah, I mean the big thing about especially what we're doing in the last couple months in this podcast is really sharing different perspectives of different things that are going on right now, so that way you can get clarity for yourself. Because what Tom and I have experienced is it's my journey, it's Tom's journey, it's not your journey, listener, but you may be able to resonate with something that we share, like confusion. You may go, what? And you may even get confused about listening to this episode, honestly. And that's okay, because it may stir up something that goes, oh, yeah. That time or just recently when didn't feel so right in my head, or something was off, or I came home from a place and felt really strange. It like starts the ignition of an understanding and an awareness that can really start you on a whole new path of clarity. Like I said earlier, when I had that episode at that clinic, I was not aware like I am today about spirit, about energy, how to work with my energy or any other energies that are not mine. And over time, I've just got more and more clear about it. And also, of course, being with Tom and living in this, having our day-to-day existence as we do, as being what we call, like, being practical with our spirituality, or that spiritual part of us, really has helped me so much. Because as we go through things where I come home whacked out after being somewhere out with someone or at a place, I'm able to clarify and really get down with talking to Tom as far as what's going on. So having other people also to converse with, or to bounce things off with, really helps also.
Yeah, and to give a bigger picture perspective is that, so we all chose to be here. We're here to learn and grow. We have a unique purpose and a thrust. We have spiritual helpers or angels to help us. We can learn to communicate with them, and so they can help clarify those concepts that we have that are those limiting thoughts, the limiting concepts, the limiting thoughts that we have, and tune us back into our true feelings, get back into the big picture, remove some of those fears, remove that anxiety and that confusion. And we're free. So spiritual freedom for me is just being able to think and communicate with spirit in the way that I choose, and grow in my own timing and my own understanding, rather than being told, how to do it, because being told never works anyway.
No, you have to get there
You have to
yourself.
get the
Absolutely.
experience, and we're here for experience. So it's important to be involved. But if a soul, is confused when they pass on, whatever your state of consciousness is, if you're, under pressure and really dogmatic about things, and, you pass on, and, you're still thinking about completing that job or whatever, your tax returns or anything, you might find that you're still reliving that. You're not there, but you're sort of playing it over in your, they're confused.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next, some of the key words for that energy are bewildered, belligerent, bully. Those are a few of the key words. And if you've ever bewildered, if you ever feel that way, that's a B zone, we call it. And that's an area that's like 0 to 5 miles, I guess, outside of, planet Earth. And then the next zone is C zone. And that's some of the key words for souls in that area of confusion are like cautious, conceited, confused, over competitive, that, and they have more of a sitting on the fence vibration, more of a limbo state of consciousness. So, sometimes when souls pass on, they, if they didn't take enough time to really work on some self-awareness, they'll take that, they just, stay in that state of consciousness. And then for souls who knew a little bit more, but just kind of sat on the fence, that limbo, I'm not going to commit. They're kind of an opportunistic vibration, waiting for the big ship to sail in rather than getting out and getting involved in life and making decisions. So then we have a zone a little further from the C zone, which is D zone. We call it D zone. And keywords for D zone are delight, destination, direction. And that's where our spiritual helpers or our angels, that's the level that they rise to. So that's a very clear, get a feeling for that decision, delight, destination, determination. Those are positive feelings. So if you're not feeling that, you may be in a little bit of confusion. So we're not always in confusion and we don't always attract confusion, but things can stimulate us. And it's great because it's a little lesson. Oh, I have a concept in that area. And when you learn to cleanse and work with your guidance and start, the key thing is to be patient with ourselves, be patient with others as they grow, be compassionate, kind, and caring, but not do so much for others that we become a mama or papa goose. So it's important that we respect everybody's opportunity to learn and grow from experience. And
well said, Tom.
Yeah.
Well said.
Anyway, there's solutions. And, if you want to know more about that kind of work and for any kind of confusion, all they have to do is their spiritual helpers or their angels will always wait for them once they pass on. And all they have to do is follow the lights and go with spirit, and they can go back home and regroup and go on a little vacation. So that's the bigger picture.
That is a very big picture.
If you want to know more about those kinds of programs, the Way Shores College offers programs and healing events and things like that. We have some free videos on Reawaken series that, we talk about in the links in this episode. And
which is a really good place to go.
It's a good place to get started and if you want to know more about this sort of thing that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well said. And also there's my book, The Soulquake Survival Guide, which also has those 12 spiritual awarenesses that can give you more insights into the spiritual part and the unseen part of who you are, and being able to move through things a little gently, because that's the thing too about understanding and having a clear perspective on things, and for yourself, it really enables you to understand how to work through situations in life, like maybe being confused, and how to access more freedom for yourself.
Yeah, don't wait for the soul quake, the earthquake.
Do it before the soul quake.
Do it before the soul quake. Start learning how to work more with your spiritual helpers, gaining those insights into everyday experiences. And that's the best buffer for confusion, and
absolutely,
it's great when you discover something that puts you under pressure, because now you get a chance to heal it. And just remember that life is too short.
You're already ready to go there?
Not to be
enthusiastic about your unique journey. And thank you all so much for listening in to another episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual. Right, Tom?
There are solutions.
Hey, everyone. For a spiritual perspective that you won't find anywhere else but right here, please make sure you subscribe.